Buried alive for being barren, he rescued her and defied an entire village. In a small village far from the city, life moved slowly and simply. The houses were made of mud and brick, and the roads were narrow and dusty. People knew each other very well. Everyone talked to everyone. News spread quickly, whether it was true or not. In this village, traditions were very strong. Many decisions were made based on old beliefs instead of kindness or understanding. People followed what their elders said without asking many questions. In this village lived a young woman who had been married for several years. When she first came to her husband's home, she was full of hope. Like many girls, she dreamed of building a happy family. She wanted to live peacefully with her husband, take care of her home, and one day become a mother. She believed that love and time would bring happiness into her life. At the beginning of her marriage, everything seemed normal. Her husband was quiet but respectful. Life was not perfect, but it was manageable. However, after some time passed, people began to notice something that changed her life. She did not have a child. In that village, having children was considered very important. Families believed that children brought honor, strength, and respect. A woman who could not have a child was often treated unfairly. Instead of support, she would face questions. Instead of care, she would face pressure. At first, the woman tried not to worry about it. She believed that things would happen naturally in their own time. She stayed patient and hopeful. But as months turned into years, the questions became louder. Relatives started asking her about children during family gatherings. Some neighbors spoke in low voices when she passed by. She could feel their eyes watching her. Even when people did not say anything directly, their silence felt heavy. The most painful part was not the words of strangers. It was the change in the behavior of some family members. Her in-laws began to look at her differently. Small mistakes were blamed on her. If there was any problem in the house, some people said it was because she had no children. These comments slowly entered her heart and made her feel unwanted. She tried her best to remain respectful. She woke up early every day, cleaned the house, cooked food, and helped her family in every way possible. She believed that if she worked hard and showed kindness, people would understand her value. But the village culture was very strict. In their thinking, a woman's main duty was to give birth to children. Other qualities were often ignored. Her husband was caught in a difficult situation. He cared about his wife, but he also felt pressure from his family and society. Some villagers would talk to him and say that he needed to solve the problem. They would remind him about family honor. These conversations slowly created tension in his heart. He loved his wife, but he also feared judgment from others. This inner conflict began to affect their relationship. The woman noticed the change in her husband. He became more quiet than before. Sometimes he avoided eye contact. Sometimes he looked stressed and tired. She tried to talk to him, but he often replied with short answers. She felt alone even when he was sitting next to her. Loneliness became her daily companion. The village atmosphere made things worse. In such a small community, gossip traveled quickly. A simple discussion could turn into a big story within hours. Some people believed that a woman without children brought bad luck. This belief had no proof, but it was deeply rooted in their minds. Because of this, the woman began to feel unsafe and unwanted in her own home. She started to avoid public gatherings. She reduced her visits to neighbors. She preferred staying indoors because outside she felt judged. Inside her house, she tried to stay busy with work. She spent time praying quietly and asking for strength. Her faith was the only thing that kept her hopeful. Despite the emotional pain, she never behaved badly toward others. She did not argue or fight. She believed that patience was important. She hoped that one day people would understand her situation. She also hoped that her husband would stand by her completely. Deep inside, she wanted support more than anything else. As time went on, the pressure slowly increased. Some relatives suggested different ideas. They spoke about traditions and expectations. The woman heard these conversations from a distance, and each word felt like a small wound. She tried not to show her fear, but inside her heart was heavy. The village elders were respected by everyone. When they spoke, people listened carefully. Their opinions carried strong influence. When some elders began to discuss the situation in the family, it created more tension. Instead of suggesting kindness or medical help, the focus remained on tradition. This made the woman feel trapped. She sometimes sat alone near a small window in her house. From there, she could see the fields and the sky. The open sky reminded her that the world was much bigger than the village. She dreamed of a life where she would be accepted for who she was. She imagined living without fear of judgment. These dreams kept her strong. Her heart was soft, but it was also brave. Even though she felt pain, she did not lose her dignity. She continued to treat everyone with respect. She believed that goodness would eventually bring change. She did not know what the future would bring, but she refused to lose hope completely. Meanwhile, the tension in the village continued to grow. Conversations became more serious. Some people believed that drastic steps were necessary. Others stayed silent, afraid to speak against tradition. Silence in the village often meant agreement. This silent pressure created an unsafe environment for the woman. Still, she did not know that her life was slowly moving toward a dangerous point. She only felt that something was wrong. She felt the mood of the house changing. She noticed whispers stopping when she entered a room. She sensed that decisions were being made without her knowledge. At this stage, her life was filled with emotional struggle. She was not just facing personal pain, but also social pressure. The village culture, family expectations, and lack of understanding created a difficult situation. Yet she continued to believe that patience and prayer would protect her. This was the beginning of a story that would soon change everything. At this moment, she was simply a woman trying to live peacefully in a place that did not fully accept her. She did not know that courage, injustice, and rescue would soon become part of her journey. For now, she lived each day with quiet strength, holding onto hope in a world that seemed to be turning against her. As days passed, the pressure around the woman slowly became stronger. What started as small comments and whispers began to turn into serious talks inside the family. Relatives would visit the house more often than before. During these visits, the topic of children always came up. Even when they tried to speak in a polite way, their words carried hidden meaning. The woman could feel that she was being discussed like a problem that needed a solution. Inside the home, the atmosphere changed. Once there had been normal conversations and simple laughter. Now there was silence most of the time. When family members sat together, they avoided looking at her directly. Some would speak kindly to her face, but later they would talk differently when she was not present. She noticed these changes, and it hurt her deeply. She began to feel like a guest in her own house. Her husband was also feeling the pressure. Every time he met other men in the village, they would ask him questions. Some would say that a man needs a child to continue his family name. Others would suggest that he should think about his future carefully. These conversations made him uncomfortable. He wanted peace, but he did not know how to stop the growing expectations around him. At night, the couple would sit quietly. The woman tried to speak about her feelings, but her husband often remained silent. Sometimes he would say that everything would be fine, but his voice did not sound confident. The woman could see the stress in his eyes. She wanted him to stand by her completely, but she also understood that he was facing pressure from many sides. This situation created distance between them. Meanwhile, in the village, gossip continued to spread. Some people believed that the couple's situation was a sign of weakness. A few villagers started saying that traditions must be followed strictly. In their thinking, if something did not match their beliefs, it should be corrected. These ideas became stronger as more people repeated them. When many voices say the same thing, it begins to sound like truth, even if it is not. The woman tried to stay positive. She continued her daily work without complaint. She cleaned, cooked, and helped others when needed. She believed that her actions would show her value. However, kindness alone could not remove deep-rooted beliefs. Some people judged her without knowing her full story. They did not understand her emotions, her pain, or her silent prayers. As time went on, family discussions became more serious. The elders in the family believed that they needed to take action. They thought that the situation was bringing shame. Instead of considering medical advice or emotional support, they focused only on tradition. They believed that the honor of the family was more important than personal feelings. This belief created a dangerous mindset. The woman began to notice unusual behavior around her. Conversations would stop when she entered a room. People would exchange serious looks. She felt that decisions were being made behind closed doors. Her heart started to feel uneasy. She did not know exactly what was happening, but she sensed that something was changing. One evening, a meeting was held without her full knowledge. The atmosphere was tense. Some family members spoke strongly about their beliefs. Others agreed silently. A few people felt uncomfortable, but they did not speak against the majority. In that village, opposing elders required courage. Many preferred to stay quiet to avoid conflict. The woman was called to join the discussion. When she entered the room, she saw serious faces. She tried to remain calm. She greeted everyone respectfully and sat down. The conversation that followed was heavy and emotional. She heard words that made her feel shocked and afraid. Some comments suggested extreme ideas. She tried to explain her situation, but her voice was soft and nervous. It was difficult for her to defend herself in front of many people. Her husband sat beside her, looking confused and stressed. He wanted to protect her, but he also felt trapped. The pressure from elders was strong. They reminded him about family expectations. They spoke in a tone that made it hard to refuse. The woman looked at her husband, hoping he would speak firmly in her support. But he struggled to find the right words. After the meeting ended, the woman felt fear in her heart. She did not fully understand what the final decision would be, but she sensed danger. She tried to ask her husband directly, but he avoided giving clear answers. This silence made her more anxious. She began to think about her future and what might happen next. In the following days, the behavior of some villagers changed. A few stopped greeting her. Others looked at her with cold expressions. The friendly environment she once knew slowly disappeared. The woman felt isolated. She spent more time inside the house, trying to stay away from judgmental eyes. Her emotional state became fragile. She had always been patient, but constant pressure can weaken even the strongest heart. She prayed more often and asked for protection. She hoped that the situation would calm down. She believed that misunderstandings could be solved with time and communication. However, the tension continued to rise. Her husband tried to act normal in public, but inside the home, their conversations were limited. He seemed worried about the future. Sometimes he would leave the house for long hours, saying he needed time to think. During those hours, the woman felt alone. She would sit quietly, thinking about her life and wondering why she was being treated this way. The village environment made it difficult for any change to happen. Traditions were deeply respected, and questioning them was rare. The fear of being excluded kept many people silent. Even those who felt sympathy for the woman did not openly support her. This silence allowed harmful ideas to grow without resistance. As pressure increased, the woman's fear also grew. She started noticing signs that made her uncomfortable. There were more private talks, more serious meetings, and more distance in her family relationships. She could sense that something big was approaching, but she did not know the exact details. At this stage of the story, the situation had not yet reached its darkest moment, but the path was clearly heading toward danger. The woman was living in uncertainty. She felt trapped between tradition and reality. Her hope remained alive, but fear was becoming stronger. Despite everything, she still believed in kindness. She did not argue with anyone. She continued to behave respectfully, hoping that calm behavior would reduce tension. She thought that patience would protect her. She did not imagine how serious the next steps would be. The village, once familiar and ordinary, was slowly turning into a place of threat for her. Decisions were being shaped by emotion and pressure rather than understanding. The story was moving toward a critical point where courage, injustice, and change would soon collide. For now, however, the woman remained unaware of how close her life was to a turning moment. The pressure that had been growing inside the family slowly turned into a serious and dangerous situation. What once seemed like simple discussions now became firm decisions in the minds of some elders. They believed that their traditions were more important than personal feelings. In their view, the reputation of the family had to be protected at any cost. This belief created a strong and emotional atmosphere around the woman. The woman could feel that something was changing in a way she did not understand fully. The house felt quieter than before. Conversations stopped when she entered a room. Some relatives avoided sitting close to her. She tried to stay calm and continue her normal routine, but her heart was filled with fear. She sensed that important decisions were being made without her knowledge. One evening, another meeting took place. This time, the tone was more serious. The elders spoke with confidence, and their words carried strong influence. They discussed the future of the family and repeated their concerns. Some people suggested extreme steps, believing that tradition must not be questioned. A few individuals looked uncomfortable, but they did not speak against the majority. In this environment, silence was common and disagreement was rare. The woman was called again to listen. When she entered the room, she noticed the expressions on everyone's faces. There was no warmth, only seriousness. She felt nervous but tried to remain respectful. She sat quietly and waited for them to speak. When the conversation began, the words felt heavy and frightening. She realized that the situation had moved beyond simple blame. The ideas being discussed were now more severe. She tried to explain her feelings once more. She spoke about her patience, her efforts, and her loyalty to the family. She reminded them that she had never caused harm to anyone. Her voice was soft, and sometimes it trembled. She hoped that someone would understand her pain. However, the strong mindset of some elders did not change easily. They believed that their decision was final. Her husband sat beside her during this meeting. He looked troubled and confused. He understood that the situation was becoming dangerous, but he felt pressure from many sides. He wanted to protect his wife, yet he was afraid of opposing the elders openly. His silence during the discussion made the woman feel alone. She looked at him for support, but he struggled to respond. After the meeting ended, the atmosphere became even more tense. The woman noticed that certain family members were no longer speaking freely in front of her. Whispers increased, and serious conversations happened behind closed doors. She felt that she was being excluded from important matters. This made her heart heavy. She started thinking about what might happen next. In the following days, unusual behavior continued. Some villagers began visiting the house more often than before. They spoke with the elders and left quickly. The woman could sense that these visits were not casual. Each meeting seemed to add more pressure to the situation. She felt trapped inside a growing problem that she did not create. Her husband's behavior also changed. He spent more time outside the house, talking to others in private. When he returned home, he appeared tired and worried. Their conversations became shorter. Sometimes they avoided discussing the main issue. This silence created distance between them, even though they were living under the same roof. One night, the tension reached a new level. A private gathering was held with only selected people. The woman was not invited at first. Later, she was asked to join. When she entered, she noticed that the expressions were different from before. There was determination in some faces and uncertainty in others. The discussion was not friendly. It focused on actions rather than ideas. During this gathering, the elders expressed their final thoughts. They believed that immediate steps were necessary to protect family honor. Their voices were firm, and they seemed united in their decision. The woman listened carefully, trying to understand the full meaning of their words. As she heard them, fear spread through her heart. She realized that the situation had become very serious. She tried to defend herself once more. She spoke calmly and respectfully. She said that she deserved fairness and understanding. She asked for time and support. She reminded them that every human life has value. Her words were honest, but the atmosphere was already controlled by strong emotions. Some people avoided looking at her directly. Her husband felt a deep conflict inside. He understood that what was being suggested was extreme. His heart told him that something was wrong. However, he was surrounded by pressure from elders and relatives. The fear of public judgment made it difficult for him to speak openly. He remained quiet, hoping that the situation would somehow change without confrontation. After the gathering, the woman was asked to stay in a separate area of the house. This request made her feel anxious. She began to suspect that something unusual was being planned. The tone of conversations had changed completely. There was no discussion about solutions anymore. Instead, there were only instructions and preparations. The next day, she noticed that some people were acting in a secretive manner. Objects were moved. Conversations stopped when she approached. The environment felt tense and controlled. She did not know the exact details, but her intuition told her that danger was near. Her heart beat faster as she tried to stay calm. Despite her fear, she remained polite and cooperative. She did not create arguments. She believed that staying peaceful might reduce the intensity of the situation. However, the strong mindset of the decision-makers was not influenced by her behavior. They believed they were acting according to their traditions. As the days passed, the plan that had been discussed earlier moved closer to action. The woman sensed that time was running out. She felt emotionally exhausted. She prayed silently for protection and guidance. She hoped that someone outside the family would learn about her situation and step in to help. Her husband struggled with guilt. He realized that staying silent was becoming more dangerous. Deep inside, he knew that he needed to take a stand. But fear and pressure made him hesitate. This inner struggle became one of the most important parts of the story. His decision would soon affect everything. The village remained unaware of the seriousness of the situation. Most people continued their daily lives without knowing what was about to happen. Only a few individuals understood the intensity of the decisions being made. Even among them, courage was limited. Tradition had strong control over their thinking. The woman, however, was now living in constant fear. She felt that she was being watched and monitored. Her freedom felt limited. She did not argue or fight. She only waited, hoping that something would change before it was too late. At this stage, the situation had moved from emotional pressure to a critical turning point. The decisions made behind closed doors were about to impact her life in a major way. She was still unaware of the exact action that would follow, but her instincts told her that the next event would change everything. The story was now entering its darkest chapter. The combination of tradition, silence, fear, and strong beliefs had created a dangerous path. What began as social pressure had transformed into something far more serious. The woman's life was standing at the edge of a moment that would soon test courage, humanity, and truth in the most unexpected way. The day everything changed started like an ordinary day in the village. The sun rose slowly, and people began their daily work as usual. Some went to the fields, some opened their small shops, and others stayed at home. No one outside the family knew that a serious and secret decision had already been made. Inside the house, the atmosphere was very quiet. The woman felt that something was wrong, but she did not know the exact plan. Early in the morning, she noticed that several family members were awake earlier than normal. Their faces looked serious. They avoided normal conversation with her. When she tried to ask simple questions, she received short answers. Her heart started beating faster, but she tried to stay calm. She believed that if she remained peaceful, the situation might improve. Later that day, she was asked to come with some relatives to a place outside the main area of the village. She felt nervous but did not refuse. In that community, refusing elders was considered disrespectful, so she agreed to go, thinking it might be another discussion. She did not imagine that this would be a turning point in her life. As they walked, the woman noticed that the group was unusually quiet. No one joked or talked normally. The path they took was away from the busy streets. It was moving toward an isolated area. She began to feel fear inside her heart. She asked where they were going, but the answer was unclear. Someone told her it was for a final decision. Those words made her uneasy. When they reached the location, she saw that a small area had been prepared. The atmosphere felt tense. Some people stood at a distance. The elders spoke among themselves in low voices. The woman tried to understand what was happening. She felt that something serious was about to take place. Her voice shook as she asked for an explanation, but no one responded clearly. At that moment, her husband was not present. He had been kept away earlier. He did not know the exact timing of the plan. However, one of the villagers who disagreed with the decision had already started feeling guilty. This person understood that what was happening was wrong. Quietly, he decided to inform someone who could help. There was a man in the village known for being honest and brave. He was respected by many people for his fair thinking. When he heard about the situation, he was shocked. He could not believe that such a decision was being carried out. He immediately decided to take action. He did not think about his own safety. His main concern was stopping something that could cause permanent harm. Without wasting time, he rushed toward the location. Along the way, he asked questions and confirmed details. When he realized the seriousness of the situation, he felt urgency in his heart. He knew that every second mattered. He moved quickly, calling for support from anyone willing to help. Some people were afraid, but a few decided to stand with him. Back at the isolated area, the woman began to understand the truth. The expressions of the people around her had changed. She saw determination in their eyes. Fear filled her heart, but she tried to stay strong. She spoke calmly and asked them to reconsider. She reminded them of kindness and humanity. Her voice carried emotion, but the decision-makers were focused on their belief. Before the situation could continue further, the brave man and his supporters arrived. Their sudden presence created confusion. He stepped forward and firmly asked what was happening. His voice was clear and confident. He reminded everyone that no tradition should harm a human life. He spoke about justice and responsibility. His words were powerful, and some villagers began to feel uncertain. The elders tried to defend their actions, saying they were protecting family honor. However, the brave man did not accept that explanation. He calmly but strongly said that honor cannot be built on fear or harm. He explained that true respect comes from fairness. His confidence made others think again. Some villagers who had stayed silent earlier now felt courage. They realized that what was happening was not right. Slowly, the support for the extreme decision began to weaken. The brave man insisted that authorities must be informed immediately. He made it clear that the situation would not continue without proper investigation. The woman was taken away from the isolated spot and brought to a safer place. She was shocked and emotionally exhausted. She could not believe how close she had come to losing her life. Tears filled her eyes, not only because of fear but also because of relief. She felt that someone had finally listened to her silent prayers. Meanwhile, the brave man contacted local officials. He explained everything carefully and provided details. Because of his quick action, the matter became serious outside the village. Authorities began to investigate. This brought pressure on those who had supported the extreme plan. For the first time, they realized that their decision would have consequences. The husband, who had been confused and silent earlier, now understood the reality. He felt deep regret for not speaking sooner. When he saw his wife safe, he felt both relief and guilt. He apologized to her and promised to stand by her in the future. This moment changed their relationship. It became clear that unity and courage were more important than fear. The brave man's action became a turning point in the story. Some villagers respected him for defending life and truth. Others were angry, but they could not ignore the fact that harm had been prevented. His courage showed that one person can make a difference. He did not fight with anger. He acted with determination and calm strength. The woman was taken to receive proper care and emotional support. She needed time to recover from the shock. The experience had deeply affected her heart. She had faced extreme pressure, and now she needed peace. The community slowly began to understand the seriousness of what had happened. News of the incident started spreading beyond the village. People discussed how traditions should never cross the line of humanity. Some leaders from nearby areas advised calm reflection. The event became an example of how blind decisions can lead to danger and how bravery can prevent tragedy. The brave man did not seek attention. He simply believed that doing the right thing was important. He stayed humble throughout the process. His actions inspired others to think differently. A few villagers who had supported him earlier felt proud that they had chosen justice over fear. In the days that followed, the village atmosphere began to change slowly. Conversations became more careful. People started questioning extreme ideas. Although change was not immediate, the incident planted a seed of awareness. Some families began to talk about solving problems with understanding instead of pressure. The woman's life had been saved at the right time. She realized that even in the darkest moment, help can arrive unexpectedly. She felt grateful for the courage shown by the man who stepped forward. She also felt thankful that truth had been supported. This part of the story showed the power of bravery against fear. It demonstrated that traditions should be guided by kindness. It proved that silence can be broken by one strong voice. Most importantly, it showed that human life is more valuable than pride or pressure. The situation was not completely easy afterward, but a major danger had been stopped. The rescue became a symbol of hope in the village, and from that day forward, nothing remained the same. The story was moving toward a new chapter, where justice and reflection would shape the future. After the shocking event, the village remained quiet for several days. People were talking about what had happened, but this time the conversations were different. Instead of gossip, there was surprise and reflection. Many villagers could not believe how close the situation had come to becoming something very serious. The rescue had changed the mood of the entire community. The woman was taken to a safe place where she could rest and recover. She was still emotionally shaken. Even though she was now safe, the memories of the incident were fresh in her mind. She sometimes woke up at night feeling afraid, thinking about what had almost happened. Her body was safe, but her heart needed time to heal. She spent quiet days resting, praying, and slowly regaining her strength. The brave man who had stepped forward did not ask for praise. He simply wanted to make sure that the truth was understood. He visited the woman to check on her condition and to assure her that she was not alone. His words were calm and respectful. He told her that courage is not about fighting, but about doing what is right even when it is difficult. His support gave her comfort during a very sensitive time. Meanwhile, the authorities continued their investigation. They spoke with different people in the village to understand the full story. Some villagers were honest and shared what they knew. Others were afraid, but eventually realized that hiding the truth would only make things worse. Because of the investigation, those who supported the extreme decision faced serious questioning. The process showed that actions have consequences, especially when they harm others. The husband also went through a deep change. At first, he felt confusion and guilt. He understood that staying silent had almost led to a tragic outcome. He spent time reflecting on his behavior and thinking about how he could have acted earlier. He visited his wife regularly during her recovery. He apologized sincerely and promised that from now on, he would stand with her in every situation. This experience made him stronger and more aware of responsibility. Slowly, the relationship between the couple began to improve. They started communicating more openly. The woman shared her fears and her husband listened carefully. Instead of silence, there was now understanding. They both realized that problems should be faced together, not hidden. This emotional connection became the foundation for rebuilding trust. In the village, discussions about traditions became more thoughtful. Some elders admitted that they had acted too quickly. They began to understand that rules and beliefs should not cause harm. Younger villagers also spoke about the importance of education and awareness. The incident encouraged many people to think differently about social pressure. It became a lesson that blind decisions can lead to serious outcomes. The brave man continued to speak calmly about fairness and humanity. He did not try to create conflict. Instead, he encouraged peaceful discussions. He reminded people that every person deserves respect, regardless of circumstances. His behavior showed that strength does not require anger. It requires patience, wisdom, and confidence in doing what is right. As time passed, the woman's health improved. She began to smile again. She slowly returned to normal activities, but this time with greater confidence. She understood that she had survived a very difficult experience. Instead of feeling weak, she started to feel stronger. The support she received helped rebuild her emotional balance. The community also started organizing small meetings to discuss social awareness. Some villagers suggested that families should seek medical guidance when facing challenges instead of relying only on traditions. Others proposed that open communication within families could prevent misunderstandings. These conversations were not easy, but they were important. The event had opened the door to change. The authorities completed their process, and those responsible faced legal consequences. This step sent a clear message that harmful actions would not be accepted. It also encouraged villagers to think carefully before making decisions based on emotions. The law played an important role in restoring balance and ensuring safety. The woman felt grateful for the support she received, especially from the brave man. She knew that without his quick action, the outcome could have been very different. She thanked him personally and expressed her appreciation. He simply replied that he did what any responsible person should do. His humility made him even more respected in the community. Over time, the village atmosphere became calmer. Although change did not happen overnight, small improvements were visible. People began to show more kindness in their conversations. Families started talking more openly about their problems. There was a growing understanding that cooperation is better than pressure. The story of the woman became known as an example of courage and transformation. It reminded people that traditions should evolve with time. Respect and love should always come before fear. The incident encouraged reflection not only in that village, but also in nearby areas where similar beliefs existed. The woman and her husband decided to build a new beginning. They focused on strengthening their relationship through trust and mutual respect. Instead of worrying about social pressure, they chose to support each other emotionally. They understood that happiness comes from unity and understanding, not from outside opinions. The brave man continued his normal life, but he was now seen as a symbol of integrity. His actions proved that one voice can protect justice. He did not act for attention or reward. He acted because he believed in humanity. His courage inspired others to speak up when they see something wrong. In the end, the village learned an important lesson. Fear can control people, but awareness can free them. Silence can allow harm, but courage can prevent it. The event became a turning point that changed minds and encouraged growth. Though the past could not be erased, the future looked different. The woman's journey showed strength, patience, and survival. She faced extreme pressure but remained dignified. With support and justice, she was able to recover and move forward. The story concluded with hope, reflection, and change. It demonstrated that even in a place controlled by strict traditions, transformation is possible when people choose understanding over fear and humanity over pressure.